That's right, ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I will perfect Harvest Moon Animal Parade. After rewatching my 100 days video, link in the description by the way, I realized that I sprinted through a lot of content that Animal Parade had to offer. And honestly, there's not a crazy amount of stuff left to do. So we're gonna keep this intro short and sweet. Let's get back to Harmonica Town and play another 100 days of Harvest Moon Animal Parade. Picking up on day 101, I start my day off in the coop, making sure all my birds are fed before running out into the snow to water all of my buckwheat seedlings. My sanity can't take spending another 2 real-life hours at the watermill creating buckwheat flour, so I just got my stored buckwheat sold off, then ran over to Harmonica Town, where some very helpful commenters on my last video told me that connecting another Wii controller and rubbing the villagers helps expedite the friendship process. I spent most of the day running around town handing out gifts to all the dwellers of Harmonica Town and rubbing them for extra friendship points. I spent close to 40 real-life minutes every in-game day running around town gifting villagers, so going forward I won't be showing every time I gift a villager an item. This video would end up being super repetitive and very boring if I do say so myself, so just trust me on this, okay? Anyways, I found the mayor stuck in his fireplace, so I pulled him out and ended my day by watching the buckwheat money flow in. Renee was at my door bright and early to kick off day 102 with a delicious gift of soup. While I was milking my cows in the barn, I found that the rubbing strategy even works on animals before getting out into the fields to moisten my buckwheat stalks. I ran around town today and gave some gifts, hit up the Fuge Forest to chop some wood, and finished the day off with more gift giving. I completely forgot about the snowman gifts, so I rectified that the morning of day 103 before getting all my crops wet. I enjoyed a stamina boosting dip in the hot springs, did some more lumberjacking in the forest, before putting a cap on the day in the coop collecting some eggs. Another bachelorette is at my door bearing gifts the morning of day 104. This time it's Candace with a blue scarf. My buckwheat is coming in nicely as I get the stalks watered. Then it's over to the barn to check on all my large animals. I did a round of gift giving up at the mines, then ran over to the Coral Clinic to purchase a bunch of extra large body geysers for energy and gifts for Irene and Jin to end the day. All of my buckwheat was nice and ripe on day 105, so I spent the morning getting all of that picked off and put into the shipping bin, before running over to the Coral Clinic where I caught Jin giving Anissa an annual checkup where there might be some romantic sparks in the air. That afternoon, Finn and I happened upon an injured bird at the cemetery, so we scooped it up and ran right back to the clinic where Jin was able to treat it. Over at Marimba Farms, I purchased a final round of 450 buckwheat seeds, got all those sown in the field, and ended the day by checking on my friends in the coop before watching more buckwheat money hit my account. It seems like buckwheat grows pretty quickly and perfectly for live soil, as I'm already watering stalks on day 206. If I'm going to get the largest house possible, I'm gonna need a lot of wood, so I'm back in Fuge Forest chopping some lumber before heading over to Harmonica Town to rub up on some villagers and give out some gifts. Back on the farm, I get my large animals milked and fed, drop some produce into the shipping bin, and call it a day since I have no need to visit the circus this season. Anissa woke me up with a comically large present in hand on day 107. I got myself some blackberry pie to start the day, and got straight to work watering some buckwheat crops. Now that the circus holiday is done and Jin is actually working, he and I can release that healed bird back into the wild. The rest of the day was spent giving gifts and making sure that all of my animals are nice and happy. I will not be sleeping in on day 108 as Jin is at my front door at 6 a.m. Turns out he does have a bit of a crush on Anissa and wanted some advice on how he should move forward with her. Obviously, I'm going to encourage my boy to go after it, so I'll have to keep an eye out for further developments. I got some mail this morning that the Horn Ranch now sells goats, so that's fun. Be a shame if I wasn't able to buy one because I already have cows, a sheep, and a horse. Internal complaining aside, I made sure that my flowering buckwheats are watered, kept those aforementioned large animals nice and fed, and made my way to Fuge Forest to continue collecting wood. To finish the day off, I caught Kathy being ruthlessly teased by Owen over at Horn Ranch, where she was tricked into kissing him only for Owen to make fun of her. Kind of a dick move, if you ask me. Speaking of Owen, my man needs to watch his back since his girl's at my front door on day 109 giving me some carrots. A lovely snowy day is spent watering all my buckwheat plants, collecting some wood and mushrooms in Fuge Forest, doing some gift giving around town, and taking care of my animals. The final buckwheat crop is ready for harvest to start day 110. So I spent the morning getting all of these little brown money makers picked before heading over to 𝐷𝐵𝐴 Farm to purchase a bunch of fertilizer for the spring crop. I gave some love to all of my ducks and chickens in the coop, then spent the afternoon in the mines searching for white wonderfuls to end the day. And while I'm collecting these wonderfuls, another wonderful thing is this video's sponsor, me. That's right everyone, this video will be coming at you ad-free, and all I ask in return is for you to do 3 things. First, if you could subscribe to the channel and enable notifications, that would be awesome. Less than 7% of the people who watch my videos hit that subscribe button, so I'd really appreciate it if you did that. Second, if you could slap that like button a lot, that would really help me out. The more likes this video gets, the more likely it'll show up in YouTube recommendations, which is a game changer for my channel. And finally, if you could leave a comment letting me know if you pour the milk in the bowl before the cereal or after the cereal. I have a bet with my wife writing on this. Alrighty, ad segment over, let's get back to the action. Another day brings another guest to my front door on day 111. The mayor is here to tell me all about the fun activities planned for tomorrow evening's New Year's celebration, where I can bring someone as a date. So I got all my farm animals fed and taken care of, and then went down to the swamp to ask the witch princess to be my date, but she doesn't seem too interested in the celebration. A major part of the New Year's event is the gem contest, so I went over to the accessory shop to refine the white wonderfuls I was hoarding, and got the all-important diamond, before ending the day by throwing some stuff in the shipping bin and earning some money. The only noteworthy thing to happen on day 112, and the final day of year 1, was the New Year's festival. There are plenty of fun competitions, but what I'm really here for are all the limited edition cooking supplies from Barbara's stall, and all the cool clothes at Shelly's that I spent over 160,000 G on. I submitted my newly refined diamond in the mining contest, which got me first place. Then it was time for the forging contest, in which I also picked up the blue ribbon. Those 2 wins netted me 1,000 material stone and 500 wood that will be very helpful as I upgrade my house. The final competition was the fashion contest, which I unfortunately came up short and only got second place to Julius in. My New Year's wish was to bring joy to Harmonica Town, which got me a fair increase in friendship with all the dwellers that live in the city proper. And so I put a cap on the year by watching the fireworks with the other villagers before hitting the hay, picking up the ultimate farmer status once again, and checking out my end of year sales report, where I was just under the 2 million G mark in my first year earnings. Day 113 and the first day of spring begins with the local inn waitress Maya at my front door gifting me a good walnut. Using that as fuel, I started my day in earnest by slicing the weeds growing in my farmland, getting all these squares fertilized, and moistening up the soil before running over to 𝐷𝐵𝐴 Farms to purchase a whole bunch of strawberry and pink cat flower seeds. I got all of those sown in the field and then ran into the wizard and witch engaging in a game of tug-of-war over a huge mushroom. It's a bad day for our wizard friend because I don't want to be in big trouble with the witch, so I ultimately decided to give her the mushroom I found and got myself a black pearl in exchange. Dealing with that fight was exhausting, so I decided to milk my cows and call it a day. A rainy day 114 begins by hitting up the chicken coop and making sure my feathered friends are well fed. I went back to the witch's abode that afternoon where she asked me for some raspberry juice that I totally didn't have on my person. So I went back home to make some for her, only to find that she didn't care about it when I returned, so I guess it wasn't a super urgent craving. Owen woke me up on day 115 as the love bug has hit another man in the valley. I guess he feels bad about teasing Kathy and has come to me for some love advice, which of course will be encouraging. I make sure to water my field of strawberries, restock the chicken feed for the birds, and milk all of my cows before spending the remainder of another day running around town, giving out gifts and rubbing people. One of my gifts was returned in kind on day 116 as Phoebe woke me up with a lovely present of 3 bricks of gold. My rubbings weren't returned though, so that's a little upsetting. I made sure to get all of my strawberry seeds nice and moist before spending most of the morning at the river plot, collecting all of the pink cat flowers that have just bloomed, along with a couple units of royal jelly. I went into Fuge Forest for a second to grab some wood, then finished the day by hanging out with the birds in the coop. Day 117 is super short for all of you at home. I made sure that all my animals were fed, stopped by Marimba Farms to pick up some more strawberry seeds, and got those sown in the river plot to replace the freshly cultivated flowers. The Witch Princess woke me up on day 118 with a present, a delicious slice of homemade pumpkin pie. Another rainy day means another relatively quick one, since I don't have to water any crops. The first thing I did today was hit up Fuge Forest to collect some special mushrooms to give to the Witch Princess in exchange for the pumpkin pie she gave me this morning. The only other notable thing I did this day was collect a bunch of eggs from the coop. We got back-to-back baddies giving us presents on day 119 as Selena showed up at my front door to give me a black pearl. My field of strawberries has finally borne fruit on this 7th day of spring, so I spent the entirety of my morning collecting all of these red little miracles before watering the river plot. I got some milk from my larger animals in the barn, dropped off all my fruits and produce in the shipping bin, then ran over to Sonata Tailoring where I found a cutscene with Phoebe and Candace. Phoebe was trying to solicit buyers for her yarn maker, but Candace rebuffed that attempt by saying she preferred to do it by hand. At the brass bar, I purchased a bunch of meals that are loved gifts for the villagers around town, then went down to the cemetery where Finn and I ran into a ghost. Turns out this ghost is the soul of a man named Tom who died before his wife Anna, and it's up to me and Finn to figure out what happened to her. All that sounds like a quest for tomorrow, so I hit the sack and enjoyed some strawberry profits hit my bank account. Luna makes it 3 days in a row with a bachelorette at my front door on day 120. This time around, I got myself some good flax yarn. To start the day off, I picked up some straggler strawberries and watered the crops in the river plot before running over to Horn Ranch, where I explained my encounter with the ghost to Renee and Hannah. Turns out that Anna was Hannah's grandmother, and she was nice enough to hand over Anna's favorite music box. Back on the farm, I collected all of my chicken and duck eggs in the coop, then saw another cutscene with Renee as she is tending to Kathy's horse, before enjoying some well-deserved hot spring relaxation time. To finish the day off, Finn and I returned to the cemetery and showed Ghost Tom Anna's old music box, and informed him of Anna's demise. I guess that was enough to detether his soul from this world as Tom ascended to the heavens of the afterlife. I ran into Luna and Gil getting into an argument at the town hall to start off day 121. Luna was just trying to hand over the registration for the tailor business, but Gil had to infantilize her by mentioning how impressive it is that she's doing it alone. Speaking of Gil getting into some hot water, he also had a dispute with Luke and Bo, who were commissioned to repair an old table, as the two butted heads on how extreme the end product should be. Over at the clinic, I ran into Irene doing some not-so-successful babysitting of Taylor and Chloe, as the two children were having way too much fun making life difficult for our local pharmacist. As a bit of a prank, Taylor and Chloe borrow some ore and medicine from Irene and Ramsey, to which the adults in this scenario made the kids feel guilty about wanting to play with them. Real adult move there, guys. Eventually, Jen arrived on the scene, got everyone to apologize, and smooth things over for the gang to end the day. Kathy made her second appearance at my doorstep the morning of day 122. This time around, she gifted me some cheese fondue, which will go great with these strawberries I'm watering. In my last video, I asked all of you guys and gals to vote on who I should marry in this series. And I'm happy to announce that with 40% of the vote in a landslide victory, the Witch Princess is our winner. I only mention this now because she asked me on a picnic date this afternoon, and I've gone out of my way to not see these cutscenes for any other bachelorettes because I'm a man of great honor and respect. While I wait for the agreed upon time to arrive for the picnic, I spent the day in the mines farming hammer skill XP, where I ran into another cutscene, this time between Phoebe and Calvin, where our blue-haired bachelorette assures the cowboy archaeologist that she knows her way around the caves better than he ever could, and not to worry about her, to which Calvin seems a bit smitten. Speaking of Calvin, while continuing my spelunking, I ran into another cutscene with him, Owen, and Luke, as he attempts to get these two mischief makers to not destroy these walls that have some archaeological significance, and he was successful in convincing them to find another not-so-historically important wall to smash. Back on the farm, I made sure to give my lovings to my birds and collect their eggs before running over to Flute Fields to have my picnic date with the Witch Princess. Of course, we have a great time, and I admit I feel honored to have spent this time with her, and I ended the day by waving goodbye after hearing she's open to a second rendezvous. I woke up on a rainy day 123 to find Mira in front of my house just hanging out, looking at the sky. This cutscene essentially serves as a trigger for getting the blue feather, so that's nice to have at some point. I'm not gonna get it today, I got stuff to do. That stuff I need to do is another massive round of strawberries ready for harvest, So I spent the morning collecting all of those before running into another cutscene with Jin and Anissa at the clinic. This is the 7-heart cutscene for Jin, where he essentially proposes to Anissa, so love is definitely in the air at Harmonica Town. To finish the day off, I collected some milk from the cows, dropped off all my produce in the shipping bin, and watched the money roll in. Calvin woke me up early on day 124 to confess his crush on Phoebe to me, so I encouraged my favorite cowboy to go after his cowgirl before checking my mailbox to see that Jin and Anissa sent me a save the date for their wedding on the 26th of spring, day 138. This morning, I collected a couple of straggler strawberries and watered the fields before running over to the brass bar where Owen is deep in his cups asking Kathy to marry him. I guess she didn't care that my man was a tad bit inebriated and said yes, so I end the day with another wedding on the horizon. Speaking of weddings, I think Selena is still trying to get me to be a main character in hers on day 125. But my heart belongs to the Witch Princess, no matter how amazing this southern omelet might taste. Speaking of my eventual wife, she sent me a letter confessing that she likes me but doesn't like me, before I saw the save the date for Owen and Kathy for the first day of summer, day 141. I harvested a handful of strawberries, made sure the ripening berries were nice and moist, then went over to the swamp where the Witch Princess invited me to join her at the flower festival tomorrow night. While running around town giving out gifts, I saw a cutscene where Selena was just dancing on the beach when Luke ran up to her, applauded and complimented her on her fantastic dancing skills, then promptly ran off like a little kid who's shy around the girl he likes. Speaking of guys lacking girls, I ended the day by snooping on Toby and Renee as they make plans for a little destination date as they were fishing outside the brass bar. It seems like we got a couple more villagers hearing some wedding bells. All these women keep trying to tempt me away from my destiny, as Phoebe woke me up with a gift of a diamond on day 126. I refuse to let these women distract me from my true goal, growing lots of strawberries and befriending cute silkworms for profit. This evening is the flower festival, so I was able to meet up with the Witch Princess at the church grounds to spend some quality time together. And that's how I ended the day, just hanging out with the Witch Princess and making plans to come here next year. Another lovesick young man knocked on my door to start day 127. This time it's Gil who needs some encouragement for his blossoming relationship with Luna. That morning I picked some more strawberries, watered the river plot, then ran down to the Ocarina Inn, where I found Maya scarfing down a cake that Chase made. I'll admit it was a bad joke for Chase to say that it was riddled with rat poison given Maya's reaction. I put a cap on this day by running down to Horn Ranch to re-up on some feed and fodder, then checking on all my birds in the coop. It seems like the romance between Luke and Selena is heating up as the bandana-wearing bad boy is at my door to start day 128, looking for advice. Then it's out to the fields to get my day started in earnest. I collected the strawberries, moistened the soil with my watering can, and then ran over to the swamp, where the Witch Princess wants to rendezvous at the lighthouse later today for a very important meeting. While giving out gifts, I ran into Julius at Sonata Tailoring, looking to lay down some game with Candace. But as soon as she speaks up, he interprets her words as a slight to his nimble stature and totally scares her off. You are not making a good name for your fellow short kings, Julius. As I move on from one stumbling romance to an explosive one, I got a cutscene with Calvin and Phoebe. As they're working on a Birkin machine, Phoebe drops the hardest line in the entire game. No, she's not interested in marriage, Calvin. She's interested in you, dog. I need to start living my life like Phoebe. I took all that bravado and met up with the Witch Princess at the lighthouse, where she confesses that she likes me and accuses me of being not human, considering only magic could make her feel this way. Obviously, I told her I liked her as well, and with a kiss on the cheek, the Witch Princess and I are officially in an exclusive relationship. Speaking of exclusive relationships, Toby is itching to tell Renee how he really feels, so I gave him the encouragement he needed the morning of day 129. I got a couple of messages in the mail this morning. The first of which from the mayor telling me how I go about proposing in Harmonica Town, and the second is the save the date for Calvin and Phoebe. They're holding their wedding one day after Owen and Kathy, and that seems kind of rude if you ask me, but I'm not a wedding planner. I don't know the logistics of Harmonica Town. What I am, though, is a farmer, so I watered my strawberries and got the final bit of XP needed to get the 4th level of the watering can skill. After that humongous achievement, I milked all my cows in the barn, before running down to the brass bar to give out some gifts where I saw another cutscene. Luna showed up to the bar to deliver some fabric when Selena introduced herself, and the two of them got into a fairly intense passive-aggressive verbal battle. Luna was throwing around some very choice words like trashy, to which Selena deflected her insults as simple jealousy. But Luna crossed the line when she insulted Selena's native dancing dress, and then everyone flipped their lid. Thankfully, Kathy was on hand to calm everyone down, and eventually got the two to settle their differences, and that's just an exciting way to end the day. Just like me, Julius seemed too excited to sleep since he woke me up on day 130 to tell me about his crush on Candace. Just as long as you don't freak her out again, Julius, I think you should be fine. In the crop field, I collected some ripe strawberries, got the soon-to-be harvestable berries nice and wet, then spent the remainder of this uneventful day keeping my chickens healthy and thriving. The final bachelor in Harmonica Town finally tracked me down the morning of day 131 to tell me about his love affair with the local waitress at the inn and make sure that I don't like her. Don't worry, Chase, I'm already spoken for, dude. You go get that girl. A healthy crop of strawberries is ready for harvest, so I get those collected in super speedy time before grabbing a couple of really nice looking eggs and ending a really short day by getting all that produce placed in the shipping bin. Hey Maya, your boyfriend was just at my house yesterday. It's almost like you guys don't communicate all that well just yet. It's crazy. But sorry about that, I got slightly distracted. Day 132 begins by collecting some straggler strawberries, watering all the crops that are desperate for moisture, then milking some cows in the barn, before spending another entire day running around town giving out gifts to villagers. Luna came bearing gifts the morning of day 133, a pair of green earmuffs that I'm totally going to wear at some point. As is customary, I collected the ripe strawberries in my fields and watered all the growing crops before running into the mayor's house where I found Luna, the girl who just gave me a gift, getting proposed to by Gil. Luckily for me, she accepts his proposal, and that's an awkward conversation I no longer have to have. Day 133 comes to an end in the barn as I milk my cows for that sweet, sweet white liquid. In what seems like the first day in forever, I can finally sleep in as I don't have someone banging on my door to wake me up on day 134. When I wake up, I do have some mail from Gil and Luna though, as they are planning to hold their wedding on the 9th day of summer. I get that save the date thrown up on the refrigerator and make my way to the fields to do my daily farm chores, before running up to the top of the mountain with Finn as we spot the infamous bluebird. As we make our approach, the bird hastily flies away, but leaves a solitary feather in its ascent that I will be able to use to propose to the girl of my dreams. So I make my way over to the swamp, but the witch princess is playing it cool today, so I guess I'll have to propose some other day. And that other day is today, day 135. I get a whole bunch of strawberries collected as fast as humanly possible, make sure they get all nice and moist to continue bearing fruit, then beeline it to the witch's hut, where this time, she finally accepts the gravity of me giving her a blue feather and asks to go somewhere private. I guess second time's the charm. The witch princess arrives at the base of the church grounds where I officially ask her to marry me, which she accepts. And a little side note for all you hopeless romantics out there, if you propose to your partner and she says no the first time and you still have the gumption to propose a second time, and she accepts but says, okay, fine, like it's a chore or something, maybe not marry that person. I don't know. Just me. Anyways, this is a video game, so everything's fine. We seal our engagement with a little kiss and then plan our wedding ceremony for the 24th of spring, which, funny thing, is tomorrow. But do you know who isn't getting married tomorrow? Chase and Maya. I mean, they are getting married, as you can tell by this cute little cutscene of both of them getting each other blue feathers, but they're gonna have to wait a little while for their nuptials, because day 136 is entirely reserved for my wedding to the witch princess. So, fast forward to the dark of night. Perry gave me the keys to the church and I waited at the front of the altar for my bride to arrive. With my hand in hers and with the immortal words of Beyonce, I put a ring on it, and in the presence of absolutely no witnesses, the witch princess and I were wed as we sealed our union with another kiss at the stroke of midnight. And now that we are finally tied together for life, we ended the day with the witch princess confiding in me her true name, Vivi. Now that I'm a married man, Vivi wakes me up every morning with a delicious packed lunch, the perfect way to start day 137. Another really interesting mechanic that's present in Animal Parade is that your spouse can help you work on the farm. I even had Vivi go out and collect some mushrooms and herbs for me today. I got some mail from Chase and Maya as they finally set a date for their wedding, the 11th of summer. Then it was out to the crop fields to water some growing strawberries and harvest a large bunch of ripe berries in the large plot near the road. I made sure to check on the state of all my feathered friends in the coop, then went up to the carpenter's workshop to purchase the level 3 upgrade to my house. Almost as if by magic, my house is quickly renovated to include a much larger kitchen, and a second room that is completely empty. To finish the day off, I made my way down to the brass bar where Selena's dancing has gotten Luke feeling some type of way. Owen has no clue what Luke means, but luckily, Luke has a solution. Just propose marriage to the dancer at your local watering hole and hope she says yes. Fortunately for our bandana-clad brother, Selena accepts and the two go out on the town looking for a ring. It would appear that they found the perfect ring as I have their save the date in my mailbox on day 138. Those two goofballs will be wed on the 13th day of summer, 2 days after Chase and Maya. With the spring season coming to a close, I only have so many strawberries left to collect and sell away. So I get those harvested and make sure my cows are milked with the help of my wife, and then I shuttle down to the church grounds to attend Jin and Anissa's wedding. Obviously, these two make a very handsome couple as the town attends the ceremony and congratulates the happy new family to end the day. Unfortunately for me, I got lots of work to do in the morning of day 139, so I wasn't able to partake in the reception festivities last night. But I was able to get my plants watered and chop down a bunch of wood in the huge forest. I peeked in on Julius to give him a gift, only to find Candace at his house. The two were sharing a lovely chat where Julius just popped the question out of nowhere, to which Candace said yes, so it looks like I'll be attending yet another wedding this summer. And speaking of weddings, I saw another engagement at Horn Ranch, as Toby and Renee decided to tie the knot. Renee half-mindedly accepted Toby's kind of joke proposal while they were just hanging out with the barn animals in the field. Both of those proposals mean that my mailbox is filled up with save the dates to start day 140. Toby and Renee decided to wait until the 8th of fall to get married, and Julius and Candace's wedding will be on the 20th of summer. Love is most definitely on everyone's mind. Well, everyone except me, because I always got money on mine, as I get these strawberries collected. Unfortunately for all of these almost ripe berries, the spring season is ending, so I put them out of their misery before running over to the Horn Ranch to participate in the annual Animal Festival. I purchased all of Hannah's recipes at her stall, then entered Coco the cow into the judging contest, where she and I were able to get our revenge from defeat last year and pick up the blue ribbon. After that success, I followed it up in the animal race with Charles. I totally didn't reset this race until I won, by the way. I only used the power of friendship between me and my steed to cross the line in first place and collect yet another blue ribbon and 25 shiny carrots. With those two massive wins under my belt, Coco and Charles have these cool little crowns on their heads, which is a really neat touch that I think every Story of Seasons game and Harvest Moon game should have had and should have in the future. I finished off this spring season in Fuge Forest, chopping down some trees, where I finally got the 600 pieces of wood I needed to purchase the 4th house upgrade, which will have to come later as it's bedtime. I watched the final bit of strawberry money come into my account and got yet another Ultimate Farmer title. To kick off the first day of summer in day 141, I hit up my wardrobe to throw on some fresh threads that totally don't fit a summer vibe. Over at the coop, I started my farm chores by feeding my birds, and then went over to the fields to sight down some weeds and till out some farm space. Over at Marimba Farms, I made a couple of purchases, including a fair amount of fertilizer and a whole bunch of summer seeds, before running up to the carpenter to buy the 4th and final house upgrade. Today is Kathy and Owen's wedding day, so I went down to the church grounds to watch those two recite their vows and become their own little family, before running back to the farm to sow all that fertilizer and seeds into the field. To finish the day off, I inspected my newly upgraded home that now has a 2nd floor. The morning of day 142, I asked Vivi to assist me with the daily crop watering, then went over to the mailbox where the mayor sent me some literature on everything I need to have a child. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what I need to do to have a child, but I appreciate the encouragement. I made sure to water all the crops on my half of the farm, then spent some time hanging out with Vivi as she watered her half. Phoebe and Calvin's wedding ceremony is today, so I made a trip to the church grounds on back-to-back days to watch these two lovebirds commit themselves to each other, before heading back to the barn to feed all my large animals. Up at the garment mines, I purchased all of the remaining furniture and storage items from the carpenter's store, then ran down to the town hall to purchase my first ever vacation property, the 200,000 G summer house on Toucan Island. I immediately took the Toucan Express over to the island and finished the day by entering my new house, which was slightly disappointing considering the price I paid for this little bungalow. The morning of day 143, I asked Vivi to help me with the farm work by collecting eggs in the coop, then got into the fields to water all my growing honeydew fruits. While Vivi was grabbing those eggs, I made sure to give her a gift for all her hard work, before making sure all the animals had food and love to end the day. I was greeted by a typhoon on day 144, so a fair amount of my crops were completely destroyed in the ensuing storm. Adding insult to injury, it's a Wednesday, so I can't run over to 𝐷𝐵𝐵𝐵 Farms to replace the crop even if I wanted to, so I spent the day retilling the soil from the destroyed plants, milking all my cows and sheep, and spending time in 𝐕𝐢𝐝 Forest working on upgrading my axe skill. A stormy day 145 begins in the chicken coop feeding all my bird friends before running down to 𝐷𝐵𝐵𝐵 Farms, where I got a cutscene revealing that Anissa is deathly afraid of thunder, so hopefully my man Jin is there to comfort her tonight. While I was at 𝐷𝐵𝐵𝐵, I picked up a couple of replacement seeds that I'll plant after the current crop is ripe, before spending another day in the forest getting axe and hammer XP and collecting some 𝐕𝐢𝐝 mushrooms for Vivi. All the crops that survived the typhoon are ready for harvest on day 146, so I spent the morning getting all of those picked off their stalks, before going back inside to try my hand at making ice cream for the first time. Turns out, you need a little bit of experience as I ended up with some dubious food. I spent the rest of the day doing farm chores, clearing off some weeds, sowing some more seeds, and collecting some eggs in the coop. As I went to bed, I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of money I got with a typhoon-stricken crop. The Firefly Festival headlines day 147, so I spent the morning fertilizing some bare spots in the field, watering all the growing crops, and making sure all of my animals are milked before heading down to the river basin that evening. Vivi and I enjoyed participating in the festival activities and watching all of the beautiful fireflies before ending the evening with a kiss. Day 148 is a stormy Sunday, so I asked Vivi to assist with brushing the animals, and we spent some lovely husband-wife time in this stinky barn. To once again thank my wife for her efforts towards bettering the lives of our animals, I foraged and gifted a 𝐕𝐢𝐝 mushroom for her to enjoy. The sun came back out on day 149, so I'm up early watering crops before running down to 𝐷𝐵𝐵𝐵 Farms to purchase all of the available recipes along with some sugarcane. Over at the watermill, I got that sugarcane turned into some refined sugar, before running up to the church grounds for the wedding between Luna and Gil. Honestly, they look a little young to get married, but I assume they're both adults making rational decisions. To finish the day off, I made sure to help out Vivi with her watering chores. I started day 150 exactly how I ended day 149. I'm in the crop fields watering some fruit. Since tomorrow is a Wednesday and I know 𝐷𝐵𝐵𝐵 will be closed, I preemptively restocked on honeydew seeds before finishing a short day by milking the cows. Another round of honeydew are ready for harvest on day 151, so I spent the majority of the morning harvesting all these delicious fruits before running back inside to try my hand at making ice cream again. So the trick is to add sugar, milk, and eggs with the fruit, and you get delicious ice cream. Today is another wedding day, so I quickly collected all the eggs in the coop, then ran up to the church to enjoy the wedding of Maya and Chase, who looks incredibly dapper in his three-piece tuxedo, might I add. To finish the day off, I sowed all those seeds I bought yesterday and got them nice and wet so they grow overnight. Day 152 is nice and rainy, so Vivi doesn't have to spend all day watering crops with me. I got some mail this morning from Jin and Anissa announcing that they have just welcomed their first child. So I quickly did all my farm chores with some assistance from Vivi and ran over to the Coral Clinic to welcome Jin and Anissa's new bundle of joy, a healthy boy they named Van, who apparently bears a striking resemblance to his father. To celebrate this massive vacation and end the day, I went and spent 200,000 G on the beach and mountain vacation houses. Another wedding headlines day 153, so I'm up early watering crops before running over to 𝐷𝐵𝐵𝐵 to purchase some more fertilizer to sow into my fields and make sure my fruit grows as fast as possible. I got all of my animals fed and loved. Then it's over to the church grounds to celebrate the union of Selena and Luke, who is still rocking the bandana on one of the most important and formal days of his life. Seems like Selena doesn't mind though, so who am I to judge? The morning of day 154, I received some very thinly veiled threats from my wife should I ever decide to betray or leave her. Potential domestic abuse aside, this day is fairly short, as the only real highlights are completing my farm chores, like watering crops and collecting eggs. I've got some mail on day 155 from Owen and Kathy, who are writing to celebrate the birth of their child. I assisted Vivi on her daily watering chores, sucked out some delicious milk from the cows, and did some axe XP farming in 𝐕𝐢𝐝 Forest before running over to the blacksmiths to introduce myself to Roy, the firstborn son of Kathy and Owen. Another round of honeydews are ready for plucking on day 156, so I spent the morning gathering up all of those while Vivi waters some bare soil. Over at 𝐷𝐵𝐵𝐵 Farms, I purchased some replacement seeds and even more fertilizer before running up to the Garmin district, where yet another couple has welcomed a new family member. Phoebe and Calvin are celebrating the healthy delivery of their own boy, Heath. I hope Heath likes honeydew, because their parents are going to be getting a lot of it as gifts as I sow and water all these fruits. I ended the day in the coop collecting more eggs to ship away for that sweet, sweet money, of which I made over 82,000 G today. Thanks to that typhoon earlier in the season, all of my crops are growing at different speeds, so I spent the morning of day 157 harvesting another section of delicious honeydew. I got the field resown and made sure all my crops were properly watered before feeding all my feathered friends in the coop and dropping off all the produce in the shipping bin. Today is the summer festival, but honestly I didn't really feel like participating in any of the events, so I just called it an early day and enjoyed some more funds entering my bank account. I once again asked Vivi to help me water some crops on day 158, and I even got a letter from the blue harvest sprite, Ben. But before I help him out with whatever he needs, I've got plants to water and sheep to milk. I eventually made my way to the Blue Bell where Ben appeared and asked me where he should go to learn more about the world. For me, the only answer was Toucan Island. So Ben, Finn, and I boarded the first ship out and enjoyed the warmth of the tropical destination. Ben was so thankful for this experience that he gave me a Blue Wonderful as a reward. To finish the day off, I decided to spend another 100,000 G on the final vacation house, the River House. I now have every single available property in Harvest Moon Animal Parade. The morning of day 159, I received another letter from a Harvest Sprite, this time the purple sprite, Edge. So I quickly completed my daily farm chores of watering crops and collecting bird eggs, and hightailed it down to the church to meet up with my purple bell buddy. Edge wants to give a thank you gift to the Harvest Goddess and asked me what he should get her, and I know for a fact that she likes honey. So the three of us went up to the Sprite Spring and provided the goddess with some divine bee vomit. To thank me for my advice, Edge also gave me a gift, a pristine garnet gem. Harmonica Town is hosting another wedding on day 160, but before we go to the church, I've got some farm chores to do and a wife to keep happy. You know what they say, happy wife, happy afterlife. Speaking of afterlives, our good friends Candace and Julius pledged this life and their necks to each other in today's beautiful wedding ceremony. Fantastic event to end the day. Darren, the Green Harvest Sprite, sent me some mail to kick off day 161, but unfortunately for him, I've got a whole bunch of honeydew that needs collecting, so our Green Bell boy will have to be patient. I went down to Marimba Farms to purchase some more seeds, got my crop of honeydews and milk sold away, then got all those seeds sown in their respective plots of soil before finishing my farm chores in the barn, collecting even more milk. I eventually made my way to the Green Bell at Horn Ranch, where Darren, the resident sloth of the Harvest Sprites, is looking for a comfy napping spot. The best spot that comes to mind right now is the hot springs. So the three of us went to the top of the mountain and enjoyed the perfect temperature water, which Darren enjoyed enough to hook me up with some spinach to end the day, as I made another handsome sum from honeydew. Day 162 is a circus day, so apparently Vivi can't do any chores. Since that's the case, I convinced her to follow me around while I do my chores so that she can see how the bacon is made. I know it's a holiday and I can't expect my wife to help me out, but she really could have just picked a couple of honeydews. I mean, she's right there anyways. Eventually, she decided that she'd seen enough and left me to sow my seeds and get them nice and wet on my lonesome. Once again, I have no desire to go to the circus this season, so I just finished the day off in the coop feeding my birds and watched some more honeydew cash come in. I got a letter from another sprite on day 163. This time it's the red sprite Alan. I very quickly did my morning farm chores of watering crops and tending to animals, then went down to the Garmin Mines to see what my friend needs. Turns out Alan has a dream of being an ultra cool superhero and needs my advice on what he should do to reach this goal. I suggested we have a meeting of the minds of all the Harvest Sprites, so we all came together at the Red Bell and gave Alan all the advice he could need and more. As thanks for my role in this brainstorming sesh, Alan gave me a silver ore to end the day. I'm back in the mailbox to start day 164 as yet another couple has welcomed new life into the world. Farm chores still need to be done regardless, so I helped Vivi out with her watering chores and took care of all my birds in the coop before running down to the mayor's house to see that Gil and Luna have given birth to a baby girl. What I don't appreciate is how they totally stole my wife's full name, though. You better watch yourself, Vivian, or my wife will put a curse on you. It would seem Gil, Luna, Chase, and Maya plan their pregnancies around each other since our favorite chef and waitress have also just given birth on day 165. So I made sure to get all my farm chores done expeditiously so I could beeline it to Chase's house in Flute Fields and introduce myself to their little bundle of joy, another baby girl named Dakota. The final Harvest Sprite to send me a letter was Colin on day 166. But before I see what he has in store for me, I've got another penultimate field full of ripe honeydew that needs to be harvested. I got my final field of honeydew nice and moisturized, grabbed a bunch of produce from my chickens and got those thrown in the shipping bin along with those green fruits, then ran over to the Yellow Bell. Colin materialized from the brass instrument and explained that he's in love with a cute girl. Marvelous would never make a harvest sprite marry a human woman, right? To confirm this, Finn and I followed him up to the Garmin Mine District, where it was revealed that Colin is head over heels for Chloe. So we did some reconnaissance to see if Chloe would be interested in talking to a harvest sprite, and just the fact that she accepted the idea was good enough for Colin to reward me with a yellow wonderful for my role of wingman. I've got one final harvest of honeydew on day 167, so I enlisted the assistance of my wife Vivi to help me get all of these delicious fruits picked up and stowed away. Other than that large harvest, nothing much was going on today, so I put a cap in it by taking care of my animals. The final day of summer, day 168, begins in the mailbox, as I got a letter from Jin and Anissa. Today is their son Van's Child Day. This means that Van is now fully grown, added to the list of villagers I can befriend, and can now accept gifts. Lucky for me, one of Van's favorite gifts is herbal tea, so getting 10 hearts with him shouldn't be too difficult. I spent the remainder of this final day of summer in the barn, collecting milk from my cows, before watching the season tick over and receiving yet another Ultimate Farmer title and fertilizer gift. A new season means a new outfit, and I'm looking perfect on day 169 in this little cat costume. Out in the fields, I utilized my scythe to start removing the weeds from the soil before getting them pre-watered. I made my way over to Fuge Forest to grab a mushroom before making my way to Marimba Farms to purchase my 450 Blue Mist flower seeds. Before I got all those seeds sown, I gave Vivi the Fuge mushroom I found earlier, which got her up to 20 hearts of affection. Maxing out the friendship meter with my spouts awarded me my first power berry in a long time to increase my stamina. With that stamina boost, I finished the day off by milking my cows and getting all those Blue Mist flower seeds thrown down. I've got another Child's Day to attend to on day 170, so I asked Vivi for some help in watering the crops this morning, and we tackled that as a family. Over at the coop, I made sure the birds were fed, then utilized some of their eggs along with milk in the pot to make some egg soup. After cooking up a bunch of those, I made my way over to Simon's photo hut to formally introduce myself to Roy on his Child's Day. One of Roy's favorite gifts is, wouldn't you guess it, that egg soup that I just made. Calvin and Phoebe sent me some mail on day 171 to invite me to another Child's Day photo op. So I accidentally got my wife pissed off at me by getting her slightly wet, collected a bunch of eggs from all my chickens in the coop, and then went to Simon's for the second day in a row, where Calvin and Phoebe's son Heath has fully grown up. All those shining chicken eggs I've been hoarding are now worth their weight in gold since Heath loves these so much. On day 172, we go from a child growing up to a child being born, as Selena and Luke sent me some mail this morning requesting my attendance to welcome their new child to the world. I watered my flowers and decided that I already have enough money, so I'm going to keep them mature the entire season and farm royal jelly and honey from them, considering a lot of people really love these items as gifts. Speaking of gifts, I unfortunately came empty-handed to Luke and Selena's place to welcome their daughter Lucy to the world. But I did get some shining milk from one of my cows today, so maybe Lucy can get that for her Child's Day. You don't have to do this, but I watered my flowers the morning of day 173 to get the watering can tool XP. The flowers will continue to create royal jelly and the rare bit of honey even without moisture, but like I said, I need the tool XP, I need it. I spent the remainder of the day running around town befriending the children and collecting eggs from the chicken coop. To start day 174, I'm in the field collecting some watering can tool XP and some shining honey from one of those Blue Mist flowers. After making sure all my large animals are properly fed, I made my way to Fuge Forest to collect some Axe Tool XP, before ending the day in the depths of the forest where the wild animals noticed me intercept their powwow. Out of respect and slight fear, I gave the wild animals some honey that I found this morning and got myself a friendship boost. I had to stay up super late to get that cutscene, so I started off day 175 by consuming the lunchbox that Vivi made me this morning. I got a letter from Julius and Candace in the mailbox inviting me to visit them and their new baby, so I got all of my flowers watered and collected all the royal jelly I could before running over to Julius's house in Flute Fields and introducing myself to their little girl, Angie. The only thing I had left to do today was milking the cows and the sheep, so I did that and called it a day. Day 176 is the final wedding day for the rival bachelors and bachelorettes. So I'm up and at 'em early collecting royal jelly and grabbing all my bird eggs. It's been well over an entire season since it was announced, but Renee and Toby end the day by finally tying the knot up at the church grounds. Some couples have been married, had a kid, and have had that kid grow up in the time it took these two to get hitched. But who am I to judge? Toby and Renee seem like they like to take their time. Speaking of having kids, Vivi is bedridden on day 177, complaining of deathly stomach pains. So I rushed her over to the clinic to be examined. Turns out our girl is in labor, and your boy is sent to the lobby to sweat it out as Irene performs her midwife duties. After what I can only assume was hours of nervous waiting, Vivi and I officially welcomed our first child into the world, a baby girl I decided to name cie. As Vivi and I postulate about what our daughter will be like as she grows up, I suggest that she'll be gentle, and Vivi agrees. Now that I'm a father, I carefully inspected the childcare basic journal I received from Hamilton before heading to bed after a long and stressful day. With the overwhelming weight of fatherhood now on my shoulders, I kicked off day 178 with a newfound purpose. I collected all the honey and royal jelly along with some milk from the cows before running up to the Garmin Mine District to purchase not only all the new storage items, but I also picked up the all-important rattle at the general store. While I was just throwing money around, I also grabbed every last version of the cooking utensils and every single book available. I ran back down to the house to show Cece the rattle I just bought, which suspiciously sounds like the bell I used to call the cattle. I wonder what messages this game is trying to send me about child rearing and animal handling. Starting from day 179, most days in the future will start like this one, just giving my daughter Cece as much love as possible. Another baby in Harmonica Town has finally grown up, with Gil and Luna sending me a letter. So, with a whole bunch of rain in the air, I collected all the possible jelly from the flowers and fed all of my feathered friends before running down to Simon's photo hut. Gil and Luna's daughter Vivian has finally reached the age where she can be befriended and given gifts. But the marimba farm is closed today, so I'll have to do that tomorrow. In the meantime, another baby has matured on day 180. This time it's Chase and Maya's daughter Dakota. So once again, I did all my farm chores, then ran down to Flute Fields to purchase some gifts for Vivian and Dakota. I formally introduced myself to Chase and Maya's daughter at the photo hut, then ran over to the mayor's house to start working on my friendship levels with Vivian, who loves roses. To end the day, I ran back to Flute Fields one last time to give a present to Dakota for Child's Day, some shining honey, which is one of her favorite gifts. There isn't much to do on day 181 since I didn't have any honey or jelly from the flowers this morning, so I spent the day taking care of all my animals and running around town giving gifts to the children, hoping that we can become friends super quickly. Day 182 is headlined by the Moon Festival, so I quickly did all my milk and honey collecting in the morning before fast forwarding to the evening, where Vivi and I enjoyed the festival by eating some delicious sweets in the moonlight before wrapping up a romantic evening with a kiss. Days 183 through 185 are pretty much identical. I collected all the possible royal jelly and honey from the matured flowers, grabbed the produce from all my animals and made sure they were fed, and then finished the days by strolling around Harmonica Town and its various districts giving sweets to the children. I would have included day 186 into that montage, but Luke and Selena's daughter Lucy had her child day today. So I ran over to Simon's after doing all my chores and introduced myself. You can tell from a mile away that Lucy is Selena and Luke's daughter just by the headband alone. And just like Heath, Lucy has a penchant for shining chicken eggs, so it's only a matter of time before I befriend her. Then it's back to monotony for the next 4 days. All I really did for days 187 through 190 were making sure Cece was happy, checking up on my animals, making sure they're well fed and warm, collecting honey and royal jelly from the blue mist flowers, and working on befriending all the town rugrats. Day 190 was a circus day, but until Cece's grown up, there really isn't a point in going. But speaking of Cece, on day 191, our little girl took a huge development step and started crawling. As Vivi and I chatted about this momentous achievement, we started making bets on when Cece would start talking, but I kind of feel weird calling Cece an it, if I'm being honest. Anyways, as my child slowly starts growing up, another child has matured in Harmonica Town, so I got into the fields and started collecting some royal jelly, picked up some eggs in the coop to serve as gifts, then got into the kitchen where I mixed up some blueberries to make juice. Over at Simon's, I crashed Julius and Candace's family photo to see that their daughter Angie is all grown up and ready to become friends with me. So I took that blueberry juice I made earlier and gifted it to her over in Flute Field since it's one of her favorite gifts. I'm probably going to need another 50 things of blueberry juice to befriend Angie, so I spent the morning of day 192 in the kitchen whipping up a whole bunch of those before spending the rest of the short day going around town being Santa to all these young boys and girls. Toby and Renee might have taken a while to get married, but they got busy reproducing early, as I have an invite to meet their son in my mailbox on day 193. I spent the morning once again collecting all the produce from my flowers and feeding my large animals in the barn before running over to the Horn Ranch, where, wouldn't you guess it, I can't meet Renee and Toby's kid just yet because it's a Wednesday and they're very conveniently closed. Why even send me a letter if I can't see the little bastard? I had to wait a day, but I was finally able to behold Renee and Toby's progeny on day 194. This little guy's name is Matt, and I'm sure he'll be fishing with his dad in no time. Day 195 is the Harvest Festival, so I'm up early in the fields collecting jelly and picking a couple flowers that I put into the mixer to make some blue perfume to use in today's cooking competition. Why perfume is considered a cooked item, I'll never know, but I got first place, so, hate the game, not the player. I also picked up the blue ribbon in the flower competition thanks to the Blue Mist flower, but the less I say about the fruit and vegetable competition, the better. Your boy definitely wasn't on the top step for either of those. I put a cap on the fall season on day 196, starting by harvesting all the Blue Mist flowers that have been on display at the farm for the better part of the season. I made sure that all my birds were well fed and happy, and finished the day and fall off by wandering around the districts of Harmonica Town gifting stuff to the kiddos. The first day of winter, day 197, begins in my closet throwing on a new fit, then getting a free gift from the snowman. I spent that morning preparing my fields for some flowers by watering the soil and removing some pesky boulders that somehow managed to make their way onto my river plot. Down at Marimba, I got all my flower seeds purchased, then ran back to my farm to get them all sown in the moist soil. I finished the day in the coop collecting bird eggs. Days 198 and 199 are identical. I spent the morning playing with Cece and did my farm chores, which consisted of watering crops, milking and feeding the cows, and collecting a bunch of eggs. And honestly, day 200 would be the same, if not for the fact that I reached level 5, the final level of the watering can tool skill, which is kind of a moot point right now. And in all honesty, there isn't that much left to do to 100% Harvest Moon Animal Parade. A lot of it just takes a whole bunch of time, so I think an epilogue is needed right about now. We kick off the epilogue on day 205, where Cece has finally learned to walk. Vivi asked me how our kids should be raised, and I think that they should grow up carefree. After a solid 8 days of chopping wood in the huge forest, I finally got my axe skill maxed out to level 5 on day 208. And then I spent another 3 days in the mines just pounding rocks until I maxed out another tool skill, the hammer, on day 211. Day 212 was the final grow-up cutscene for all the rival marriage children. Renee and Toby's son Matt is now fully grown and can finally accept gifts, Shining Honey being one of his favorites. Day 215 begins at the front of my house as I tirelessly swing my hoe for 3 days straight, culminating in another tool skill reaching level 5. The interesting thing about getting the hoe skill to level 5 though, is that I also picked up another power berry to raise my stamina. Cece said her first words on day 219. And so Vivi and I wondered what we would talk about with her, and I thought about talking about our passions is the correct route. After another grueling couple days smashing the A button outside my house, I was able to get my sickle tool skill level maxed out on day 221. And almost 2 weeks later, Cece's child day arrived on day 233. Now that she is fully grown, the whole family went down to Simon's and got a photo to commemorate the day. As soon as one child grows up, Vivi woke me up on day 235 requesting another one, and your boy isn't going to refuse. Fast forward 21 days to day 256, and Vivi has entered labor for the second time. We rush over to the Coral Clinic, where a healthy baby boy is delivered. Going with the theme of naming my children after their mother, I named this child Kiki, who I'm sure will be an energetic son. But on day 265, tragedy struck. My duck Calvin was called to the duck pond in the sky. So Kane, Cece, and I went down to the cemetery to bury our friend and start the grieving process. Just as a little side note, I had more animals die of old age in this epilogue, but it's sad, so I won't be covering any more of those. Fast forwarding to day 271, I gave Cece a shining chicken egg, one of her favorite gifts, which saw her reach 10 out of 10 hearts, granting me the penultimate power berry to increase my stamina once again. It took me 283 total days, but giving Matt a final shining chicken egg got him up to 10 hearts. Matt was the final NPC outside of my newborn son I needed to get up to max friendship. So it's really nice to see this list of townspeople totally maxed out, apart from Kiki, of course. Speaking of Kiki, my boy is finally grown up on day 311. With another kiddo ready to go to school, Vivi and I went back down to Simon's to take an updated family photo with the whole gang. The final tool I needed to upgrade to max level was the fishing rod. If you've ever played Harvest Moon Animal Parade, you know just how long and difficult this journey is. On average, every fish you can catch in this game is worth 43.6 experience points. And to reach level 5 fishing skill, you need 99,000 experience. That means on average, you need to catch 2,271 fish to reach level 5. So since I maxed out my sickle on day 211, I've been doing almost nothing but fishing in my free time. And on day 317, more than 100 days after maxing out my sickle, I caught the final fish I needed at Toucan Island to reach level 5 in the fishing skill. In addition to that, I also received the final power berry, taking my stamina level to the max. 30 days later, I was able to max out my friendship with another one of my children by giving Kiki this shining duck egg on day 347, officially befriending every single possible person in Harvest Moon Animal Parade. The day after, on day 348, I was also able to befriend every wild animal by giving the frog, who only comes around when it's raining in the spring, summer, and fall, a fish and a pet. Considering the frog was far and away the most difficult wild animal for me to befriend just because he never comes around, it was only right that I selected him as my house pet. He shall be named Howard. And to put a cap on this beautiful experience that was perfecting Harvest Moon Animal Parade, we fast forward to day 358, the circus day in spring of year 4. As Vivi, Cece, Kiki, and I make our way to Harmonica Town to enjoy the Eunice the Giraffe slide and watch the Parade of Animals one final time. Thank you so much for watching my video. I was on the fence when everyone suggested I play Animal Parade, but after perfecting the game, I'm not afraid to admit that it is a top 5 Harvest Moon game for me now. For those of you who are itching to publish a comment that I didn't perfect the game because I didn't complete the encyclopedias and get the trophies, you can delete that. I did complete every encyclopedia except the cooking one, because why would I go and catch every single fish all over again just to get one recipe for it? All the cutscenes and getting the trophies happened in the epilogue, and I thought I was recording, and whoopsie, I wasn't. But to make it up for you, here's me going through the encyclopedias for you to prove that I did it. So yeah, that's the end of this series. If you enjoyed it and want to see me perfect more games, make sure you subscribe and enable notifications. Leaving a like on this video will also show me that you guys want to see more Harvest Moon videos on this channel. If you want to get more involved in my community, you should follow me on Blue Sky and Twitch. Those links are in the description. My personal Discord server is also linked in the description, and we have a lot of fun over there, and I'm sure you'll have a great time and won't regret joining. And that's about it for this video. I want to thank you again for sticking around and watching the entire thing, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.